Hey, I'm Frosty, and I wanted to just make a quick R5E1 cell skip guide for the Discord speedrun competition that was just started. If you don't know what cell skip is, it's an alternate way to play R5E1, where instead of bringing the first cell back and plugging it in, disinfecting, stopping the error, you take it all the way towards the end of the level, keeping the error going and making the level much harder, but also much quicker. And I've had some people ask for a guide on the level, so I've just decided to make one. So I'll go through each zone and show how you should play them generally. Also some gun compositions which are good for the level, and some some neat tricks when it comes to completing the level. This will go over the sub 50 time, which in general is just getting a cell skip clear, and then also one of the strats to get a sub 25 time. I won't go over every single part of the level for the sub 25 time because at that point you should know how to do a cell skip at that skill level. It's more just going over the specific strats that are used to consistently get a sub 25 time and also make it easier to get a sub 25 time as opposed to the more generic strats that are used. I will preface, I am doing everything in C console, just makes everything easier to explain and understand. You will see that I have Fulbright on and Turbine. I can show in the console, Turbine, Fulbright off. This is what the level usually looks like. It just makes it easier for me to explain zones as I'm going through them. So first of all, for the gun composition, um, I would always recommend taking at least one scattergun. It makes every part of the level considerably easier. Two scatterguns is also good for the level. There's a lot of giants, a lot of hybrids. There's two mums you have to deal with, a Sea Scout, um, and also a tank. So having multiple scatterguns is always good, but you can get away with only one scattergun. I personally just think it's easier to run two scatterguns. Another thing that if you are comfortable with using, I would be taking a Hell Rifle. Hell Rifle is extremely strong on this level. It's really good for giants and chargers, both of like the more dangerous sections, or not both of, but a lot of the more dangerous sections include a lot of those enemies, including a zone which includes a bunch of BBCs, chargers, a tank, and a Sea Scout. A Hell Rifle makes that really easy, as well as the last giant alarm. It makes that extremely easy. It also gives a lot of wave clear value for your team, so that's what I would highly recommend for taking into this level. The other weapons are pretty flexible. If you're taking two scatterguns and a Hell Rifle, the third slot could be something like a High Cal, it could be more wave, it could be another Hell Rifle. Anything like that is also good. If you feel like you're having a problem with hybrids and you're only taking one scattergun, a sniper isn't a bad pick. It also helps for giants. I find it's quite good for the harder parts, which can be the first surge alarm, because that spawns a lot of hybrids in it, and also the error. It makes quick work of the hybrids that come during those sections of the level. For main weapons, it's pretty generic. Sword off is obviously extremely powerful. It's pretty flexible, though I would recommend probably taking sword off, Hell Shotgun, Hell Revo, things like that. Things that are quite strong, but you can get away with other weapons. The main uh, weapons that you are focusing on is your special weapons, as they do play the biggest role in your team composition and loadout. For your tool composition, it differs a little bit for a sub 25 and a sub 50. Um, for a sub 50, you want to probably be taking one of each tool, a bio, a mine deployer, a seafoam launcher, and usually a burst sentry. Although you can take a Hell auto sentry, and I can show you, or I will show you, spots where that can be useful. But either sentry is fine. For most teams, I would start off with a burst sentry, as you can use it in more sections and get more value out of it. For a sub 25 loadout, I would recommend taking a bio tracker, a mine deployer, seafoam launcher, and then instead of a sentry, you can take a second bio tracker. Having a sentry down can lose a bit of time when it comes to actually doing the run. So if you feel like you're wasting too much time on your sentry by either giving it tool, having to pick it up, place it down. You can always swap it out for a bio tracker, although if it makes the level feel too hard or a bit too hard to get a sub 25 on, you can always slot that back in and it's completely fine. So, and I'll just go over each zone. I'll go over the enemies and the resources that are in these zones and how you should approach them. You don't have to follow this exactly. If you feel like you have a good grasp of the zone or you feel like you can play it reasonably well, you don't have to follow this guide to a T. It's just here to help, mainly for people who either haven't self-skipped before or haven't implemented strats before that they might be interested in how they work, you know, the technical side of them. So you don't have to follow this guide to a T. It's just kind of here to like help you ease yourself into the level, show you like the easier ways to do things. So for the first zone, 528, what you have in here is a colored key card, which will go to 529. This is the main thing that you're getting from this zone, and basically where you will be rushing to straight away. There is a terminal in this area here, F, upstairs here. There's a terminal right here which you can use to ping the key if you're not using logs. It doesn't lose any time at all in the grand scheme of things. You can also use it to ping the resources, which I would recommend to do if you're doing a sub 50. The key is heavily weighted towards the back end of the zone, so anything that's F and before, you're not getting a key. G is completely, like, quite unlikely to get a key in. You're mainly going to get J keys, L keys, K keys, I keys, those kinds of things. So what I would recommend doing is when the level starts off, make sure you're going through the zone and killing the 2 scouts that are in this zone. You do not want these scouts to wake up, as in this zone, in this level, scouts waking up spawns in giants, unlike normal scout waves which spawn 12 enemies. This spawns purely giants and hybrids. Maybe chickens as well, although I usually don't think they do. But there will be 2 scouts in this zone. I can actually maybe find one. Here we go. Here's one scout. Going up a fucking ladder. What the fuck? Anyway, yeah, there's 2 scouts in this zone. So what you want to do is somebody can ping on terminal if they want, but you can work your way through the zone, meleeing enemies. If you know there's not a scout in the zone or in the area, don't mind enemies waking up and screaming because it's not going to wake a scout. You can always shoot if you need to if there's no scout. Going through this door here, it's the best path to go for pretty much every key. It goes to all of these back rooms, so I, J, through here you can see K, and then there's L. Where am I? You want to go through here. This is the main way you want to go to get key, and then after you have key, you want to run back in here. This is D. Plug it in here, open the security door, and this will lead to the next zone, which is 529. 528 also includes 2 ammos, 2 ammo packs, 2 tool uses, and 4 meds. The 2 ammos. Ammo in this level is usually the most important part because doing cell skip, you're quite scarce on ammo. So ammo is main priority, but if you're spending your time getting things, it's fine. For sub 25, skipping it to ammo here, it's completely fine. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You're going to get ammo on later zones, and if you play well enough, the ammo usually isn't a problem until hub zone, which you will get ammo anyway. So for zone 529, which is this zone here, coming at 528, you want to check this first room. If there'll usually be 2 giants, there might be smalls. But if you need to, you can shoot them on your way through. If they're down the north side of the room, or you can just walk past them, it's completely fine. It's actually better to do that. You save ammo doing that. But it usually doesn't matter that much. Shoot it if you need to, shoot it if you don't. You want to come through this door, through to B, up the left here. Walk in, close the door. You want to mine and C-frame this door. And then you want to go to this scan here. You probably want to clear this room on a sub 50. In a sub 25, it usually doesn't matter. Like 2 giants, whatever, 4 giants don't matter that much. But if you're in a sub 50, it doesn't hurt to clean this room so you're not getting giants during the surge wave. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this zone. This zone has a normal scan sequence, and this zone also has no resources, so don't spend time looking for resources in here. This next zone, 531. There's 2 scouts in this zone. You want to kill these, ideally. Not ideally, but you want to kill them, especially because this door over here would be mined and C-foamed. There's also a few enemies in the room. In the room there will be a 4 ammo pack, a 4 med I believe, and then a 2 tool. The 4 ammo is really important, obviously. You want to get all those resources if you can. There's a couple of box spawns. There's a couple at the front here. A lot of them are up the stairs there, as you can see, all the way up the stairs there. A lot of them are up there. One tip I can give is if you accidentally pull a scout, if you can, pull the surge immediately. The surge will cap out the scout waves of like all giants, and it's much better to fight the surge without giants than with. If you don't feel comfortable doing that and you just like want to live and do the surge without the door, which I wouldn't recommend, you can just kill the giants or hope they spawn in one of the other rooms, which they might. You also, for sentry, if you have a sentry, burst sentry particularly, you just want to place it here. If you have a hell auto sentry, don't really bother placing it. You can place it here if you want to. It'll help a bit, but a lot of the time it kind of doesn't do much because you can just shoot the wave. This tile isn't horrible for shooting, and if you get good RNG on scans, you can finish them early. You have a hell rifle, they can just sit down here, get really good shots. Yeah, and then you can clear the surge wave and open the door for the next zone. So after you've finished the class 3 surge, this is probably the first dangerous-ish zone in the level. There's 2 scouts in this zone and 16 giants. And there's 3 possible combinations of scout locations that you can get. You can either get no scouts in the first room and 2 in the second room. You can get 1 in each room or 2 in the first room. Personally, I think the easiest is probably 1 scout per room, because you can just shoot the scout and then kill the giants. If there's 2 scouts in 1 room, you kind of have to melee one, or you can just, you know, shoot one and let the other or deal with the wave, but I wouldn't recommend doing that as waste ammo. But yeah, you can just shoot one, deal with the giants. This is where scattergun really shines in this part. Hell rifle also does really good too. There's a true disinfect in here. I would recommend, if you're running 2 bios, I would probably put the disinfect on the bios. It kind of want bios to be alive. If they can tank a bit more damage than others, that's really good. Bio pings are really, like, they give a lot of information, so you want to do that. But at least whoever has a bio on your team, give it to them. If you're running a sentry, just give it to anyone else. It doesn't really matter who. There's also a 4 ammo in this zone, a 4 med and a 2 tool. The ammo is, again, extremely important. You want to grab that. There's the distribution of boxes. There's a few up front here, a couple of spots in this first room you want to check. Up in the back there, a couple of spots down here, and then if I go to this back room, good. There's a couple of spots here, there's a spot down there, a spot here. You know, you just want to kind of thoroughly check up here as well. But yeah, this zone, it's not too bad if you know how to play around it, and that's just what I would recommend for this one. And then afterwards, this is the start of the actual cell skip part, the error. For the error zone, the key can only spawn in D and E, or realistically spawn. They spawn in A, B, or C is like a 1 in 150,000, so you're not getting that. We can either spawn in this room here, or most of the time, it'll spawn in this back room here. What you can do is, if you're not running logs at the start, you can hop on this terminal here to right at the start, ping the key, and you also want to ping the ammo. In a sub 25 strat, or if you are using logs, pinging the ammo is a good idea. You pretty much always want to do it. There's a 3 ammo in this zone. It's very worth it. It doesn't really take time. For the sub 50 strat, you want to grab key, and you don't want to touch this door over here. This is you can do the team scan on this door if you want to. There is a team scan on this. You can do this if you want to get it out of the way, but you don't have to touch the door. What you want to do is come back here. You can either leave that door open or not. You don't have to. This door here, because there's going to be an alarm on this door. It's a class 3. You want to seafoam and mine this door here. Leads into D. That you pretty much only either going to spawn from here or from the north side outside the security door. And you also want to place your sentry facing the security door, because if they spawn here, you can't really seafoam mine anything. You just want to place your sentry here. If it's a burst sentry, if it's a hell auto, don't bother placing it. Yeah, seafoam mine this door, place sentry facing this way, start the alarm, do the class 3, and then we'll move on to the next zone. This next zone here is where we get the cell. The cell will be in the far back of the zone. It can sometimes spawn in C, but it usually spawns in D here. And I can show you spawn locations. So if it spawns in C, there's a few spots. I think this one is one here, and there's another spot I think down there. Wait. I think there's another spot there. You're not really going to get a C cell, but if you do, there's those two spots, and then there's also a spot over here. I think it can spawn here, or it's over here. I'm not too familiar with the C cells, particularly. For the D cells, this is the best cell. You can get one here. There's a spot up here, I think on this shelf here. And then there's a spot down here. Yeah, it will be somewhere here, like on a shelf here. And then there's also a spot over here. I believe that's every single spot. There might be a spot upstairs. I don't think there is. But yeah, there will be a few giants. I think it's 6 giants in this zone, as far as I can remember. Not too dangerous. There's not a lot of smalls. One thing you want to be wary of, though, is you kind of want to rush to the back of this zone as soon as possible to get in here. Because if you look on the map, there's one room here and one room here. You don't want the error spawning inside. So you pretty much always want a person in this room so they're always spawning out. Because if, say there's people in here, if they get an error spawn on them, that's not too good. They could get caught off guard, get shot by a hybrid, they might go down. It's not too good. You always want to have somebody staying in here. Yep, you just want to grab cell. There's also 5 or 6 uses of ammo in here. Depends. You want to grab that. If you want to, you can come this side, and upstairs here there's a terminal. You can always ping it if you want. Usually you can just shoot this room. If there's giants in here, just shoot it, ping, kill the giants. Sneaking kind of takes a lot of time. It's not really worth it. Spending a few scatter shots just to kill some giants is a lot more worth it, especially when you're getting a 5 or 6 ammo in here. And once you've gotten all that, you want to come all the way back with the cell, take it to that other security door that I showed you just before. It's over here, and this is the next zone that we're going into. I'll show you on the map. This is cell zone. Go back this way. You can either go this way or this way. Usually this way is safer, quicker. So you want to go this way, down here, to the security door. Team scan's not done. Do this team scan if it is done. Just sit here and we'll move on to the next zone, which is one of the harder sections of this level. So for this next part, what you want to do is open this door. Well, after you finish the team scan, open the door, and 3 people probably want to run to this door. This door is the easiest spot to hold. It's a smaller funnel. It's easier to go inside. This door should be closed. If you can close it, and this door should be open. For the last part, if you can, when you're running back with cell, just have somebody open this door when you're going to the team scan. It takes a bit of time. It doesn't matter. You want to have a funnel for this part. And what you're going to do is you're going to have 3 people standing outside here. And you're going to have 1 person on the inside here. This is the safest strat you can do for this zone. And the 3 people outside, they're going to be meleeing, they're going to be shooting some guys that are outside. And once they hear one of the enemies scream, they want to tell you. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to shoot outside of that zone. And it's going to pull, if you look here, it's going to pull this first mum, but not this mum. And then after you do that, you want to run out, do your teammates out here, and just sit here. Have the bio ping whatever's coming, and you just want to shoot until it's only the mum left. And then once it's only the mum left, make sure there's no error wave, because if you're standing here, an error wave can spawn in this zone as well. So you want to wait. If you hear an error wave spawn in, just wait. Hammer them, shoot them, whatever. Once you hear an error wave spawn behind you, you can run in, and the mum should be here somewhere, and scattergun. And scattergun can just, you know, double tap it. You just want to shoot it. You want to kill the mum. And after that's done, if you're in here, no arrow waves can spawn inside. If you feel comfortable, you can just... Scattergun can just run in and nuke the mum. I mean, I can't do it first or whatever, but you just want to nuke the mum. And once that's done, this zone is clear. There's no other enemies in this zone once you've done that. There might be some at the back and some on the sides. There's 4 giants in this zone and a fair few babies. But once that's done, this zone's clear. You want to move the cell up to the back. Don't worry about finding resources. There's absolutely no resources in here. No reason to check anything. Come to the back here. Open this door. We'll start the team scan, and then we can move on to the next zone. Okay, for this next zone, what you want to do is before opening this door, like I've just done, you want to wait until you hear a error wave spawn on the north side. Because if you have this door open or you open this door, they can spawn in this second room here, which is not good because you want to keep these doors intact if you can. So what you want to do is wait for that. Once you hear an outside error spawn, you open this door. You want to check which room the scout's in. See how I have it in the first room? Rarely, like super rarely, you can have scout and tank together in this first room, but usually you don't. So if you have scout just on its own, get a ping on it. Once this door opens, you could have 2 people go back and deal with the error, 2 people go in. The scattergun should go in, and then you can just shoot the scout, and then the rest of the stuff you can just shoot up like this. If you can, stay in this room and shoot, but it's not needed to stay in this room, but it's really nice to stay in this room, just in case they spawn in here. If you can have 2 people stay in here, shoot up this first room, that's really good. After this room's clear, the other 2 people can come back down, and then they can just sit in this room. And then you can also check, if you have scout in second room, you want to ping it. If a scattergun can go sneak to the scout, that's ideal. If there's a scout here, it doesn't matter if the scattergun dies per se in this room. As long as scout dies, it's like the main thing. They could sneak, you know, shoot, and then if they try to get out and die, it doesn't matter. There's 3 other people that can shoot for them, and then come in and revive. If there's a tank in the second room, what I would recommend doing is open it. Usually the big door is good to open, but I would pull the room if there's stuff in front of the door, shoot it up, pull the room, close the doors, and have them both mined. And then once the doors break, you can push through one of the doors and get behind tank. It's ideal if you know which door the tank's on, because if you aren't on the door that the tank's on, say the tank's on this door, you can sit at this door, and once both doors break, you can just run in this way, and the tank's not here. You have free sight lines on the tank, you know where he is, especially with a ping, and you can just run in here and kill him. And then down here, you want to start the stealth scans. Ideally, you want to pull these fast as possible because yours take a bit to travel. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. If you have scout first room, just instantly shoot it, deal with the room. If you have scout second room, tank's usually first room, so you probably want to pull that. Oh yeah, I will show that actually. If tank's first room, and you know tank's first room, a good thing to do is to just something and then run out and pull the room. And you can just sit up here for a sec, kill the charges and BBCs that come out, and then wait to see where tank is, maybe get someone to pull him, or you can just shoot him from up here if you want. But if scattergun wants to like sit and wait, get someone to pull him, run down, put a couple shots. Okay, well, I don't have anything reload, but put a couple shots in. Tank goes down. That's like the best way to do it, I would say. And then again, you can go into second room, sneak and kill scout if you want. It's probably the best thing you want to do. Getting a scout wave is not ideal. Yeah, once you kill a scout wave, you can always back up, you know, kill stuff, mine if you want, and then yeah, start the stealth scans, and then we can move on to the next zone. Okay, for this next zone, before you open this door, just like this zone that you did just now, you want to wait until you hear an error spawn from the north. Once you hear an error spawn from the north, you can open this door, and it will take a while for if an error does spawn inside, because these errors can spawn forward. They can spawn all the way through these rooms. Like, you can get a forward spawn, and that's not what you want. You want to wait for an outside error spawn, check if there's a scout first room, run in, you can shoot scout, whatever. The main thing for this zone and how you want to play around it is if, say you're in here, right, and this room's, you know, dead. I just, you know, nuke them with my mine, blah blah blah. Say you're in this room and hear an inside spawn, and you're like, oh shit, this next room isn't clear, and oh, there's a scout. And say that scout was far, and you weren't able to shoot it or something like that. What you want to do is run out. You just want to run out here, and wait until the error wave comes. Because enemies can only scream if they're one room away from you, or in the same room as you. If I'm here, they can't scream in that room with the scout and wake it up. So you want to sit here, maybe shoot, wait for the error wave to be dead, wait for an outside spawn again, and then you can run in. And then you can deal with that scout as fast as possible. I'd say that this room is probably the hardest room to deal with because it's so big. If you have a scout or multiple scouts, it's really annoying if a error wave spawns inside. But it's how you want to play the whole zone is sitting in this room, say I'm here, and there's a scout in the next room. It's kind of hard here, but At least this next room is small. If you an arrow wave spawned inside, you kind of want to run inside and shoot as fast as possible, or get rid of the scout as fast as possible. Once this room's clear, you really need to start like rushing, kill the scout. If you get an inside spawn, you just want to rush, kill the scout. Once you're in here, it's pretty safe, because if you get an inside spawn, you can just sit out here, and no scout can scream. If you get a scout in here, they won't scream. Get a scout in here, they won't scream. In here, they won't scream. It's just getting to this part. After you get to this part, it's really simple until the end, and you don't have to really think like smart about what you're doing. You can kind of sit wherever you want, and if you get an inside spawn, you're like, oh, okay, let me just sit back here, deal with the error, come back in. If you can, in this zone, the hell just... if you can, just sit in this, if you're in this zone, try to open this door. This door is nice to have open, because once you're doing the Dino Arm, they will funnel through this door if they spawn in this room. It's not necessary, but if you can do that, it's nice. You can open this door if you want, it really doesn't matter that much. It's just like a nice quality of life kind of thing to have. Once you're in this room where I am right now, in E, you can get no spawns in front of you. So if there's a scout, say there's a scout in here, here, or even the alarm room here, you don't have to worry about it if you're in here, because enemies can't spawn in front. They can only... The closest they can spawn to you is in this room, which you've already cleared. All of this you've already cleared. You may have even cleared this, but they won't even go through here if you get a spawn here. So once you get into this room, you're super, super safe. Super safe. And you can kill the scouts, you know, melee, shoot, whatever. A good thing to do is shoot scouts. Hell rifle shooting scouts is really... It's probably the best way to deal with them, as long as there's no two scouts. You also don't have to worry about clearing these two rooms, because nothing will wake up. Even if there's a scout in there, they will not wake up due to the alarm that you do later. Mainly because this room here, they cannot spawn in there from the alarm. It's 2 rooms away, but the chance of them actually spawning there is like nothing. They will very, very rarely spawn in here, but even so, you're 2 rooms away. You don't have to worry about them screaming in. The only ones you have to worry about clearing is these 2 rooms here, and I would probably clear this room, because if you're too close, or the scout's too close to this wall, and say you're shooting here, you can wake it up accidentally, and that's something that you don't want. But once you have the cell pushed through this zone as a team, this Jenny over here is where you want to plug it into, and that will unlock this door. So this is the starter zone. You want to take the cell all the way down here and plug it in here. You can take this as safe as you want. As long as you get the cell down here, that's all you need. If you have like a person go down, you know, just stabilize, get that person up. Having your team alive is more important than moving cell, and I would just recommend staying alive and then moving cell. If you have time, move cell. You know, defend your teammates, grab some resources. There's a lot of resources in this zone. There's 20 uses of ammo, and you want to get that ammo. This is the zone that gives you the ammo, like most of the ammo in the level. After Charger Zone and after the Mum Zone, you're probably going to be like a little low on ammo, and you're going to be like, shit, like we need ammo here. So make sure you search through these boxes, because there's a lot of ammo in this zone. And once you feel like you have enough ammo to deal with this Gyno Arm here, this is a class 6, class 5, class 6, class 5 Gyno Arm. It's a mixed alarm. It's all giants, all giant waves, as well as you're going to be having that arrow wave be spawning, which is smalls and the maybe hybrid, multiple hybrids. You want to have the ammo for that. So yeah, I can't reiterate enough. Make sure you get the ammo in the zone. Make sure you have enough ammo for this alarm. And after you're done with this alarm, you don't have to deal with any more cells. You just open the door. Ideally, before you open the door, you want to wait for an outside spawn again, because you don't want enemies spawning inside, because you want to preserve these doors for the next part. But yeah, wait till a arrow wave spawns outside, then open the door, and we'll move on to the next zone. So in this zone, there's going to be 4 sleeping giants and a bunch of resources, which will be really useful, as you're probably going to be a little low on resources here. There's going to be 13 ammo packs, 6 meds, and 2 tools. At this point, you want to make sure that your C-frame has a bit of tool in it. Ideally, it's full from previous zones, but you can find a bit of tool in here if you are low. When you open this zone, you want to have one person, maybe a scattergun, because he's you know, can deal with the giants if they're on path. The giants, you want to have them running to the left side and opening all these doors. You want to save all these doors because the last, the warden door in this zone to the last part of the level is a class 4 surge. Really want to keep these doors for that surge. If you want, you can also open this door. Personally, when I play, I wouldn't go into this room at all. I think both sides are hack locks, or if not, but just opening these doors, it kind of just creates more things that you have to think about when you're setting up for the surge. So I just wouldn't go in here. There's also not that many box spawns in there. So usually you're going to have all of the resources out here, you know, tool, ammo, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, have one person rush and open all these doors. And I also would recommend, because the thing with this warden door is when you look at the warden door, a snatcher will spawn in. I don't know if it'll do it here. Yep. Once you look at the warden door, a snatcher is going to spawn in. You want to spawn that in as quick as possible so you can deal with it as quick as possible. Because once that's dead, you can just loot resources freely. You will have arrow behind you, but you can just shoot it, melee it, whatever you want. Grab your resources, grab your ammos. If Seafoam wants to, he can run in here and Seafoam this door just like prematurely, because you want to have that door Seafoamed anyway. Once all your teammates are ready, you can just close these doors. Everyone comes through, close this door, Seafoam this door, and then you want to run through here, close this door, and also Seafoam this door. I also forgot when I was recording that last clip, if you have an Hell Auto Sentry, this is the main part of the level where that becomes useful for you. What you want to do is, this door will be closed, don't mind, like whenever you're ready to do the surge, and you want to place your Hell Auto Sentry about here, facing towards the warden door and towards where you are. The Hell Auto Sentry gets back damage, so it does 2 times damage to enemies from the back, and it also has pen. This spot here is extremely useful, especially for this last scan. It can deal a lot of damage to a surge, as it's very dense enemies from the surge. If you feel like you're having a problem with this, I don't think you should if you have both of these doors Seafoamed and defoamed, and this one's Seafoamed in mind. Say you lose a door, or you feel like, you know, you're dying up on this scan because they break the door and they're running up the sides, you can always put it in a spot like... You can always put it in a spot, you know, like this. Say, you know, you're having a problem, they're running up this side. You can always give yourself a bit extra support, placing it like that. But ideally, if you have all the doors Seafoamed, they should early break the door once you're going to the last scan. So you can just place it here, and it can help with clearing up the surge wave. Say if you have no more tool, and you can't Seafoam the ground here, something like that. I will also say for the burst sentry, it's a pretty obvious spot where you want to place it. Once you're running back, just place it anywhere up the front here, facing this big door. Once the door breaks, it can just help thin out the wave a little bit as this door's broken. But yeah, Hell Auto Sentry, this is probably the main part that you want to use it. So for the level, I would recommend just taking the burst sentry, as it's a lot more intuitive and simple to use. But yeah. Once this door is Seafoamed in mind, everyone run to the back. Somebody probably wants to be a bit earlier on this warden door, because if you look, when you pull it, it is a traveling scan. It takes a few seconds to travel, so ideally you want somebody there. Also, the thing with these scans is they're all set. So the first scan always will be here, the second scan will always be up here, the third scan will always be over this side, and then the final scan will always be down in the middle of these ladders here. So you can keep that in mind, and pretty much after the scan's done, you're like, oh, I know the next scan is up top there. You can just run up, still on the scan prematurely, you know, go to this scan prematurely, all that kind of thing. If this door breaks after this scan's done, or you do it beforehand, but Seafoam Launcher can just spend the rest of his foam, and wait, let me demonstrate. If he has leftover foam, he can just Seafoam on the ground here. This is really useful because it can block like half the surge wave from actually getting to you. If you're down here and, you know, that door breaks, you're like, oh shit, we're gonna have so many enemies on us. Just Seafoam the floor. Seafoaming the floor is really, really effective for this alarm. Once this scan is done, can sit here, shoot, clean up a bit, make sure you're not gonna die. If somebody does die, just stabilize. You know, after the surge is over, it's only the air alarm that is left, and you know the air alarm is pretty minuscule compared to the surge. But after everybody's up, you know, you've cleaned up the surge alarm, you can open this warden door and move on to the next zone. And after you've opened this warden door, this is basically the end of the level. After you've done this surge, you've done all of the hard parts, and you're basically just not dying to error. After this warden door's open, you can just run all the way to the end. This door here is going to have a team scan on it. And this next room here, this is the extract room. After that team scan's done and that door's open, you want to run to this terminal and input the command KDS Deep Crisis Override. A tip that you can use is you only need to type K. You can just do K and then press tab, and it will put the whole command in. And then you can press enter. It will start a team scan, and after that team scan is finished, finish the level. Another thing that I'm going to go over is a thing called Chill Strat and Hot Strat. So Chill Strat is basically a way to play this level fast in a speedrun fashion, while not being like super punished for having E keys, for having keys in E, because usually you would grab the key and then go do the alarm. So a D key would be better, but if you get an E key, you have to run a bit further. So what the strat would be is you run into the zone, open these two doors on the left here, these two big doors, run to the end, do this scan, obviously grab the key. After this is done, you probably want to set up so 3 people can run out. Usually the sea foam would probably stay inside here. Have the people run out. The mine deployer is going to want to come here and place a couple of high mines for the giants in the mum zone, and then also a low mine here for babies. But put it a bit further away from the door so that the mums don't clip through and hit the mine. And what they're going to do is open this door. I'll show it now. Chuck this on. And protection. What they're going to do is come here, pull both mums, so they're going to step inside and shoot. Pull both mums. It doesn't matter if they birth. Run out. Bit of foam there. Close this door. Fully foam this door. And then they're going to run over here and start the alarm. Do the team scan. After the team scan's done, the sea foam player can just run off and perma-foam this door here. Keep foaming this door, you know, they're on the door. Until the alarm is over, they're going to do that. And then basically what you're going to do... Oh yeah, also, if mine deployer can, they probably want to place a mine here, like a low mine. Sometimes some babies will pass to that door and start banging on it. But basically after that's done, after the alarm's done, they want to make sure that door's firm, you know, that'll break, and you want to rush inside as fast as possible, clearing like shit as you go through, all this kind of stuff, and then you want to get into this room. Okay, I may or may not have died there, because I forgot to turn God mode on. But basically once you're in this room, you're going to want to be waiting, or ideally 3 people are going to be want to be waiting, your 2 scatterguns and maybe someone else, shooting stuff as it comes in, you know, giants, all that kind of stuff. You want to wait until you know that it's early the mums left. Go check, you know, still a giant coming. Only the mums left. Once the mums are left, you can close this door. The mums will push up, and then the 2 scatterguns just want to be ready. So obviously, nuke the mums. And that's basically the whole thing about what the chill strat is doing. And then obviously you'll have somebody, you know, checking for self. It's basically the gist of it. You're basically what you're doing. Oh my god, your map, please. Anyway, basically doing is coming here, pulling mums, mining this door, doing the scan while somebody permafoams, running in, killing shit on this door while somebody grabs cell, closing the door, killing mums. And this means when you run back, this room is clear, and you also got to play an E key without losing much time at all. Or pretty much any time at all. You pretty much don't lose any time at all doing this strat. And then you just run back to the charger zone, do that the same. And yeah, and then there's another strat which revolves around D key, and it's basically just playing the level without partial pulling the mum zone, like I showed before, pulling one mum, killing it, pulling the next one. Basically, what this strat is you have a D key, grab the key, do the alarm like normal, all that kind of stuff, finish the alarm, run in here, grab cell, come out, and then you want to go to this door, open the door. Instead of partial pulling, your two scatterguns are basically just both rushing in. Rushing in, not really. It's good to walk, just for this first bit, so stuff doesn't insta-wake. If you can get a long-range aggro on this first mum, it's really good because she slow-wakes. The scatterguns want to walk up. One shoots the first one here, kills it, and then one shoots the back one here, kills it. And then you can kind of just stabilize. Bio's pinging. There's 4 giants in this zone, so you want to make sure you're not dying to those. Also, ideally, before you come into this zone for the hot strat, and the 2 scatterguns are going in, you want to med the scatterguns. So you want to give the scatterguns some meds. Ideally, more than 1 each, but if you only have, say, a 2 use or a 3 use, just give 1 to each of the scatterguns so they're not dying because they're going to be in the middle of all the enemies. And those are basically the 2 strats that you want to be using for a sub 25. There's another strat which is split strat, which I'm not talking about because that's only really needed if you want to go for like a sub 16, which is not realistic for most people. You can easily get a sub 20 if you do a chill strat really well or a hot strat really well. So those are pretty much the strats that you want to be using. It's either if you get an E key, pulling the mums and going into cell zone and then killing the mums in cell zone. If you get a D key, doing the alarm, and then after you get cell, come back and rush in and kill the mums instead of partial pulling them. Those are the 2 fastest strats you're going to be able to use to get a sub 25. That's basically the gist of the level. If you have any, comments, you can always DM me on Discord. You can write in the comments. I'm happy to answer all questions. This guide probably seems pretty rushed. I'm kind of just trying to get a guide out there, to help people kind of understand what cell skip is about, how to do it effectively, easily, all that kind of stuff. This is probably a dog shit guide, and I know it's a dog shit guide because I literally spent like an hour on it, even less. But yeah, any questions, let me know, and yeah, thanks for watching.